Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to episode 4 of the Intel Within podcast. I hope that everybody's enjoyed the last couple of episodes. Last episode was pretty interesting. When you say, man?
Yeah, it was great to have somebody on with that caliber, that experience, someone that has been in for 21 years and just kind of given us a life story from start to finish. And I definitely enjoyed it. It was nice to let somebody else talk, get to know him for sure.
Yeah, man. Aaron is, as much as he probably wouldn't want to say it, he's a certified badass for sure. And he's a highly intelligent person, very well spoken, very eloquent, has a lot of very intelligent opinions.
Yeah.
And, dude, I honestly can't wait to bring it back on and see where that conversation goes.
Yeah, I really liked the thought of having like a part 2, part 3
Oh,
because
yeah.
he is definitely an individual that kind of fits the criteria in my opinion of like what we like to do. You can carry on a conversation forever, just like what I heard. I think yesterday when I was over at my church, it was that they were saying that like the conversations are good as if you were having like over at a coffee shop, talking with somebody. Just sit there, have a cup of coffee, and just kind of go. So
Yeah, man. And I know you said on one of your reels that we put up on the page that we really could have just kept talking for hours.
easy.
But yeah, man. And here's the thing too, bro. A lot of that stuff we were talking about is just going to keep developing, right? Situation with Ukraine, Russia, China,
Hmm.
anything that
Yep.
goes around the world. And we could just keep having it back on, and
Dude,
talking about how these things develop. It's going to be good either way. So, but big shout out to you, Aaron. We appreciate you
yes,
coming on.
sir.
Yeah. So
It's
tonight, we're doing something a little new. Chris and I are testing
ooh,
this out. We're gonna do something we're calling popcorn podcast. So
man, baby.
basically, we're gonna have a bunch of little topics that we're gonna get into, talk for a bit, see where the conversation goes, and then have a bunch of different little topics that you guys can all listen to us talk about, and then we'll just go from one to the other. And I think it should be pretty fun, man. Pretty laid back.
Yeah, I like the idea. It's a good idea for sure.
Definitely. So, Popcorn Podcast with you.
Yeah. All right. So you want me to go first, ask the question?
Bring it on, Big
Let's
Daddy.
do. Okay. So the question that I have written down over here is kind of a tough one, but if you can sit down with any person that has passed away, who would it be and why? Any person can be famous, not famous, just whoever
Mm.
it just, sparks to your in your mind that you would sit down and have a conversation with.
Man, that's a tough one. I guess I'll answer it in a couple different ways, right?
Okay.
So, person that I know, right, or have known in my life that I would sit down and talk to
Hmm.
would definitely be my mom.
Okay.
Um, yeah, on my mom's side, her mom, um, probably the closest person to me. Definitely somebody that she's my favorite grandparent, just put it that way, absolutely,
Okay.
and we have so many special memories. That woman dedicated her life, to her grandchildren, and definitely did a lot for me. She actually so she passed away in 2016, and, I actually almost didn't get a chance to take the leave to go to her funeral,
I
and,
hate that
dude,
feeling of regret, man.
yeah, well, I wanted to go, and the flight chief I had at the time, long story short, was playing all these games,
Hmm.
and basically was like, "Hey man, sorry, I don't think you're gonna get to go to this." And I'm like, "You are literally not going to tell me that I'm not going to my grandmother's funeral." Like, first and foremost, this woman and I were like this, okay? I'd moved around my
Right.
whole life as a military brat. I did not get to see her anywhere near as much as I'd have liked when I was an adult. And I
Mhm.
flat out told this dude, I'm like, "You're not telling me I can't go. Like, I don't
Yeah.
care
No.
what I gotta do. I don't
Right.
care. I literally don't." But in the end, I got to go, and I went, and which that would have stuck with me my whole life. I did not get to get there before she passed away, unfortunately, because of the games this guy was playing.
Hmm.
Um, and but I did, and but I would definitely talk to her again. Um, but the person I think I would talk to the most, that I've never known, would be
Hmm.
Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor.
Oh, okay. It's the
Mhm.
last name kind of sounded familiar because I know you send me some things on
Right.
Instagram. And felt like I stumbled across that name before, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so the past couple of days I've done some of those stoicism posts from the
Yep.
Daily Stoic book. So Marcus Aurelius is very, very well known for meditations, which ironically was his journal. And I like to say Ryan Holiday, the guy who wrote the book, The Daily Stoic,
Mhm.
said in another podcast that he would probably be mortified. Marcus Aurelius would probably be mortified to know that we're reading his journal, right?
Oh,
Which
wow.
is true, you know. And but the man was so intelligent. The man had those philosophies on life that he wrote about. They apply today. Anything you can read about that he has to say, and not just him, but the other Stoics,
Mhm.
right? Seneca, um, they all have life lessons that they talk about that you can apply no matter who you are to your life.
Mhm.
But Marcus Aurelius has always been somebody that I find and have found very, very interesting. Um, Everyone may remember him too from the movie Gladiator, right?
Oh, yeah.
Um, yeah, so he was the emperor that was killed at the beginning of the movie by his son, which is not historically accurate. His son did not kill him. His son was Commodus, but his son didn't kill him in a tent out there in Germania. Marcus Aurelius actually died from the plague. But anyway, I would definitely talk to him and hear what he had to say, what it was like to be the most powerful man on the face of the earth at the time.
I was just saying,
And
yeah, that's
right.
pretty awesome.
And for somebody with that much power to see and read about in his innermost thoughts
Mhm.
about just kind of how humble he was, and something he wrote was don't become painted purple, and don't let leadership affect you and kind of taint you, right, with that power,
That's a
because
big one
purple
right
is
there.
royal color, right? Don't be
Yeah,
painted purple. That's
yeah.
something that's always stuck with me. So Marcus Aurelius for sure would be that guy. But what about you, man?
Man, I thought about it, right? Of course, the initial thought that comes to my head is my grandma, my on my dad's side. She was just a huge part of my life at the time when I was younger. She was always there because I played sports growing up all the way until college, and she was always so they're from Ohio. And so they would come to Arizona. We call them, and in Arizona, you call them snowbirds. And so they would come over because it's so cold all the time, right? So then they'd come over. She would sit in a lawn chair outside. It's Arizona, freaking balls hot, dude. It gets really bad. But she would always be out there, man, on the lawn chair, just watching me shoot basket, the shoot hoops and just practice and run drills. I mean, for 4 hours at a time. I'm like my son right now is like a living image of me back then because I was like, man, how does he? When does he stop? And he doesn't stop. And that's exactly how I am. Like back then, I was just go, go, go. But definitely her. I miss the fact that, just because of yesterday going to church and kind of giving my testimony is like she was a big part of the sense of like me praying and stuff like that when I was younger and just always trying to do well, have good morals, integrity. And then when she passed away, majority of that stuff kind of fell off. But it's kind of like copying you in the sense of kind of getting into this, but that's the first person I did think of. But yeah, man, she was
Yeah, man,
such
that's a
a
go-to.
dude. Yeah, it's you kind of you can't skip family. I feel like, and she
I think a
was
lot of people would have had a similar answer.
yeah, dude. She was great, man. Such a nice person, happy all the time, shirt off her back kind of deal for you. Just the best grandma in my opinion. And then the other person I was thinking about because growing up, and still to this day, I love to make people laugh. I like to have fun. Um, just to figure out like how people are able to do such things as acting and in high school to become thespians and stuff like that. The person I thought about, believe it or not, is Robin Williams.
Oh
Um,
man,
dude, he growing up, you can ask anybody today, like, hey, when you think of Robin Williams, like what movie comes to mind, right? There's a lot. There's Jumanji, Patch Adams.
Mrs.
Um,
Doubtfire,
what's that?
Mrs. Doubtfire,
Yeah, exactly. Mrs. Doubtfire, dude. I
Aladdin.
extremely, yeah, extremely iconic. And when I found out, and the whole world at that time that he had passed away, obviously, I was just like, wow, this actor and this individual, like I looked up to as far as like these movies and how he does it, how he makes people laugh, and how he's able to like maintain everything outside of acting. Um, and he had, I believe it was called or pronounced Lewy body syndrome, Lewy. So what it is, it's a deterioration of brain cells, and like or like in the muscles, and yeah, so he was. Pretty it's pretty rough what he went through, and so he was going through. I think it was Night at the Museum. They were saying that they noticed that he was kind of deteriorating in the sense, for lack of better terms, and he had tons of memory loss, he had depression, he had insomnia, and he was just snowballing.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's pretty rough, and so that is one person that I would, if I could sit down and have a conversation with, is kind of talk to him, and of course, just see how he came about to do everything, and his love for comedy, and just being appealing to people. It's really cool. Great guy. Definitely too young. But that would be my go-to. So
I would
let's
say that anybody that grew up around, because you and I aren't that far off in age,
mm-mm.
Robin Williams is iconic. We remember him from our childhood. You
Yep.
mentioned Jumanji.
Yep.
Absolutely, man. Who doesn't remember him just unshaven, long hair, running around that house with banana leaves,
Dude, funniest
for
thing,
clothes?
acting crazy.
Yeah, man. Right. But dude, honestly, I'm not a big guy that is into celebrities.
Mhm.
And really off the top of my head, thinking about celebrities that have died that I honestly got sad about. First one I even remember feeling that way about, dude, Steve Irwin, right?
Ah,
Who the hell doesn't miss Steve Irwin? And if you don't, man, you're wrong.
have you seen his son, bro? Like
I
identical,
have.
dude. It's
Yep.
crazy. It's
It is.
uncanny.
I love seeing that. I love seeing
Yeah,
how their family has kept on with, his
true.
work and the
Mhm.
tradition of his life. I think that's awesome, and I've seen some of the photos, that his daughter Bindi put up, when she got married, and they superimposed him into those photos. I was like, "Wow, that's really, really powerful,"
Yeah,
to include him that way, I mean, of course, they would include him, but just seeing him in there, dude, I even got, like, kind of emotional. I was like, "Oh, damn, man," like,
yeah,
that's awesome. We that was their dad. We all got to enjoy, what he did. And it's sad, man. I was sad when that happened. And then the others would be Robin Williams for sure. And
yeah.
then the others that bummed me out were Chester Bennington from Lincoln Park and Chris Cornell.
Dude, do you
Those
remember the
two,
story I told you about him?
which one?
The Chester?
I think so.
So he went to my high school, believe it or not.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
Tell
man.
it.
Yeah, so for anybody out there that wants to do this fact check, I went to high school in Arizona at Greenway High School, and Chester Bennington went there. His nickname in high school, unfortunately, was Chester the Molester. Now, no idea where that came from. Obviously, we did not graduate anywhere near the same year, but he went to my high school, and he was very much a father figure, family man, loved his children. So to hear that was his nickname at my high school was just kind of weird. Didn't make sense to me, but yeah, it was kind of cool to find out that he went to the high school. So that's kind of a quick little story.
Definitely, man. Yeah, and I think for Chester, for me specifically, would be, I kind of came into coming of age when Linkin Park really hit the scene, and
Yeah,
their music definitely painted my high school
so good.
experience. Them, Blink 182.
Yep.
I mean, we could just rattle off a bunch of
Papa
bands.
Roach, man, early on.
Papa Roach, Taking Back Sunday. I mean, I was an emo kid. You know what I mean? Thursday,
Mhm.
Taking
You're an
Back
emo
Sunday,
kid?
Dashboard Confessional. What's that?
You're an emo kid, or you were?
Not in like the raw
Painted nails?
sense, right? Like not at all. Like I was a skater kid, man. I was the one running
Okay.
around with the DC and Osiris shoes that were massive on you,
Dude,
and
huge.
just yeah, dude. I mean, that was me, but like all that music, like I said, Take
Yeah.
My Sunday, Dashboard Professional, Blink 182,
Yep.
Thursday, whatever, dude. All that stuff, but Linkin Park as well, and and then Chris Cornell as well, man. His
Yep.
music, Audio Slave. Um, damn, Soundgarden, right? His voice is amazing.
Hmm.
You hear Chris Cornell's voice and you know immediately who it is. You know what I mean?
Right.
And but those two really bummed me out when that happened as well. So
It's wild, man.
unfortunately,
It's
taking their
just,
own lives.
yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
but,
it always sucks, that's for sure. So,
definitely.
what's the second question that you got?
Well, technically, it's
Or your
my first
first, your
question.
first one. Yeah, yeah, your
Yeah.
first. Let's
So
back it up.
what?
I mean, dude, you think I would be okay drinking some coffee right now, but
It's all right, dude. You had a
yeah,
long day. You had a
dude,
long day.
jeez, unreal.
Uh, Now, my first question is your favorite book and why, and it can't be Dr. Seuss, bro. All right.
um, man,
Pennies
I'm
and
gonna,
I'm off the table.
uh, so I'm gonna be honest because that's just how I am. I am not a reader, but when it comes, when it comes to reading, because I'm sure my wife's gonna see this, and I got to be real. I would say my favorite book, just because I know the person, and I think you know where I'm going with this. I know the person individually, very good friend of mine, and when I met him at the gym, just instantly, became friends. Talked about same tattoo artist that we went to, and his name is Eddie Penny. um, his book hit a little different for me in the sense because, um, I don't know, man. It's just I don't want to say like so connected, but just because like I just knew him. It's like we are really good. Good, or not really, or not were. We are really good friends, and I respect the guy. And to hear his story, other than out of his mouth in a book from start to finish, it's like
Right.
I think it was like 300 some pages. Um, I mean, it's crazy. His life growing up as a kid was almost similar to mine in some sense, not everything. So
What
we were
ways?
constantly. What's that?
In what ways?
Man, it was just the story that comes to mind is that him and his buddy, I think they kind of built like this makeshift spear type thing. And they're practice throwing this like spear at a tree.
Oh
Well,
yeah.
one I think it was I want to say it was his friend or it was him, and they went to go throw it, and it missed, and then boom into like the Achilles or like the bottom of the foot. Yeah, dude, stuck in the foot. And the what story that came to my mind, and I texted him right away, and we were just BSing back and forth and just laughing. I was in middle school and getting dropped off by the bus. There's this huge alleyway, like the alleyways in our neighborhood in Arizona. Man, they were probably, God, dude, probably 30 yards wide. They're big. And it
Dang.
would go behind these homes in the neighborhoods. And I was going home one day with some friends, and there was this broken chair, right? With a screw on the end of the leg of the chair, which there was a screw on the end of his little makeshift spear that they did. And I grabbed this leg and I tried to break the chair even more. And so I threw that leg down at the chair to break it. Uh, I guess I didn't understand how physics really worked at that time, which is kind of weird because I didn't see it bouncing back up like a bouncy ball. And I threw it at the chair, bounced right back up, boom. I got the screw right here in my forehead. And I'll show you sometime, but I actually have the scar right here. I still have it. And so I texted him. I said, "Man, I had the same like the screw incident, but mine was on the leg of a chair." And so we just kind of shared those stories. But
That's
hearing
cool.
yeah, dude, hearing his story from start to finish, everything that he went through. I don't want to like give too much about the book because completely unbiased opinion. It is a very good book. I think it is very well detailed, and it pulls you in. And not a lot of books pull me in. If it's boring, man, I'll read like 30 pages and I just close it and I'm done. But his story from start to finish, everything he went through, 16 years as a Navy SEAL, 4 years as a Marine, started off as a Marine and then went into the Navy SEAL program. Um, Also absolute badass. But that would be my favorite. His Eddie Penny's book, staring down. I think Staring Down Terror is like a Navy SEAL and like a father. Um, it's such a good book, dude. Such a good book.
I'm sure it is, man. I've read a lot of books written by former military members, veterans,
Hmm.
and for the most part, I found them all to be pretty good. A lot of them have the same themes and very similar stories, so
Yeah.
some of them kind of blur together a bit.
Hmm.
Um, but I think once you think about like Eddie Penny and somebody like Jocko, right? Just trying to think of other guys that served during like the GWAT era.
Right.
But going back and reading books from other vets during different wars, right?
Hmm.
Um, I think those are really interesting too, because again, like we were talking about how like a lot of the concepts and thoughts are still applicable today.
Hundred
Um,
percent.
yeah, man. So Dick Winters from Band of Brothers, right? Easy Company,
Okay. Yep.
right? Books about him and the lessons that he learned during World War II. That's really, really interesting to me.
Yeah.
About face, I think I put that. Actually, I have it right here. But
Oh, okay. I've seen that. That's
Colonel
a big
Hopworth,
book, dude.
Vietnam,
Jesus.
right? Yeah. Those are those are really, really interesting to me as well. Getting out of, I think a lot of these military books have come out, especially after like GWAT and during GWAT.
Hmm.
But there's a lot of other stuff too that I find really, really interesting. So, maybe if you get like bored with some of the same like tropes and stuff like that and themes and the same,
I'm about to have
locales,
all the time in the world, brother.
it's true.
Yeah.
Check them out.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, dude. I like that those style of books too.
Okay. I do want to put this in there because I didn't want to butcher the title too awful or too awfully, but it is Unafraid, Staring Down Terror as a Navy SEAL and a Single Dad. So,
Yeah.
um, you know, it, great book. Gresham definitely reads way more books than I do. So it is nice to be able to have people to kind of talk to, like yourself, my wife, ton of books, like all the books in this office, dude. Like she's literally read everything. So
Dude, I
it's
finally
nice
got
to
to see
hear.
that for the first time
It's kind of
when
cool,
we were
man.
filming with Aaron, man. There's a lot of
Yeah,
good stuff up there. There's if those are
yeah,
her books, her and I have read a
all
lot of
of
the
them,
same books.
all of them. I promise you, they're not
Wow.
mine. Yeah, there's a lot, bro.
That's why I
She's
said, man, your favorite book can't be Green Eggs and Ham.
it's random. No, I'm just kidding. It's not.
I know.
That's cool, man. That's good. I definitely would like to. I like the idea and the thought of reading because I feel like it does educate you more and just
Oh,
more
yeah.
fluid and just, vocational or vocabulary, sorry, not vocational. And it's just I don't know, I like it, so I want to get better at it for sure because I'm like you said, it's good for you. So I'm gonna jump into this second question that may be kind of rocky for some people. You think they're okay? You think they're gonna be ready for it?
I mean, if they're listening to us, I mean,
Yeah. Okay. So the second question that we're gonna jump into in this popcorn podcast that we got is how do you feel about transgenders competing in sports?
dude. Okay, so
This is gonna be big.
simple answer to that is if you were born a man, you should be competing against other men. If you were
Mhm,
born a woman, you should be competing against other women, right?
mhm.
Um,
As sports are.
dude, yeah. If you want to be trans and that's your decision, then by all means, you're an adult. I don't have to participate in that decision, right?
Right.
But I look at it as if you are a man transitioning to be a woman and you want to go fight MMA and against other women, I mean, dude, I look at it like this. If that woman knows that you grew up with all that testosterone in your body, what that does to your muscle system,
Bone density,
your
everything.
frame,
Yeah.
right? The natural aggression that men develop more than women do, right? If you
Mhm.
hop in the ring with that, just like if I decided, dude, yeah, I'm gonna hop in the ring with Masvidal right now or whatever, and I just get my
Mhm.
shit rocked, Like,
Mhm.
that was my decision. It was a stupid decision, but it
Mhm.
was my decision, you know? But no, and personally, right, I don't think this should happen. You know, I don't think
Yeah.
that if you were a dude, whether you were, I don't even remember her name or his name, right?
So, if it's the
The
MMA one?
swimmer. I'm sorry?
Okay, so I wanna touch base on the MMA one right before you jump into the swimmer one real quick. So the
I'm
MMA
just
one.
trying to give like a example that I can think of recently because there
Yeah.
are MMA examples, but no,
Yeah.
I don't think that that should be happening because I don't think it's fair. I
Yeah.
don't think that. I also think about the kids because you see some of
Okay.
this too,
Yeah.
where you have kids in high school or middle school or whatever that are transitioning and they go and they compete. Like I said, you get this, you know, teenage boy
Yep.
who is transitioning to a girl and he goes and he's a state wrestling champion and you know for girls, right? And it's like,
Yeah.
how is that fair? You know what I mean? um so no, I don't agree with it like that. I
Yeah.
don't agree with it. Again, if you are a, just to go back to the MMA example, if you are an MMA fighter, a woman, and you decide that, yep, I'm going to hop in a ring with a man who's now transitioning to be a woman, and you willingly fight that person, that's on you. You're an adult.
Yep.
That's an adult decision.
Yep.
I'm probably not going to watch that fight because I don't want to watch you die, right? Or
Yeah.
just get obliterated. I would rather watch two dudes or two, you know, chicks fight and it be fair. So
Mhm.
no, I don't agree. I don't agree with that. I don't think that that belongs together. And if you're gonna have trans in sports or trans sports, then make a trans league, man. You know what I mean?
100%.
Like
Couldn't
you
agree
could do
more.
that. That's an option. So no, I don't. I don't think that that's the right call.
Yeah, it's to touch base back on that swimmer. I believe it's Leah Thomas is who it
Yeah,
was,
that's right.
and I mean that was like the most embarrassing thing. So the way I look at it too is to kind of caveat off that is you've got this person who's transitioned, right, and then they're now allowed to compete and swim against all these females who, by the way, people don't need to forget this, but these women have been competing for this moment for their whole life. And then you have where the world is at now, you have um this individual that decides that they want to transition and go compete against other women in swimming events, shattering all these other girls, right? Like absolutely shattering. And then, you know, all the time from being a kid up into where they are now and what they worked for is like now it's like null and void and it's gone because they got second place or they got third place and they didn't win and they lost. And in 2014, the first transgender like MMA fighter was Fallen Fox, and that individual got into a ring with another woman, right, and ended up breaking her skull.
I
Like,
remember hearing about this.
dude, it's crazy that
Yep.
that these organizations are like, oh, well, we don't want to offend anybody, so because they're transitioning, I guess it's legal because there's paper trails, but it's just like you said, have your own league, regulate it, get hormones checked, testosterone levels, the whole nine. Um, I don't want any like science freaks out there to come at me. So I'm kind of I guess subtle to say it, but I think like a high testosterone level for a woman is like 120 and lower or 115 and lower.
No clue.
And so you're trying to have these guys that come in with, you know, I would say anywhere from like 400 to 700 levels of like testosterone, roughly depending on the age. And they're just coming in and just obliterating these females. And dude, it's just not right. There's no way. If I had a daughter and that happened, dude, I don't even know what I would do. It's just not a chance I would ever put them up against that.
There's a lot of parents in that those leagues, right? High school, middle school, right?
Mhm.
That are upset by it because they know, and their kids feel the same way that it's unfair to them. You know, like you
Yep.
said, they've been training for this. They expect to compete against other people who are roughly around their same level, right? And
Yeah.
there are some, you know, kids, women, men, you know, who you're going to naturally compete against other people in your gender and lose, but at least that's fair. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And correct me if I'm wrong or look it up or whatever, somebody fact check me, but didn't the US women's soccer team lose to maybe it wasn't the U.S. women's soccer team, but one of the women's
Mhm.
soccer teams lost to like a high school team. Um,
Wow.
they got blasted like 5-1 or something like that. I kind of want to look that up.
Yeah.
But they did. Hold on, let me check. Or
Yeah,
let
yeah,
me
go ahead.
check one of those. But
It's
yeah,
that's interesting. I don't know. Maybe I had like missed that or whatever, but then now you saying the US women's soccer team, now it's got me trying to go down a rabbit hole of how they're trying to have like the equal pay as the men's soccer team. So you have the men's soccer team,
yeah,
which
it's right here.
Mhm.
2017. FC Dallas under 15 boys squad beat the U.S. women's national team in a scrimmage.
Why was that even a thing?
2017.
Just for
What's
fun?
that?
You said it was
Probably just
just for
from this is
fun?
from CBS Sports right here.
Wow.
Uh, Preparation for two upcoming friendlies against Russia. U.S. women's national team played FC Dallas under 15 boys academy on Sunday and lost 5-2.
But they want to
Dude,
have equal pay? I
man,
dude, I
dude, I know
this is
you're
the
right, man.
yeah, it's
I just
just
want to say about that, right?
yeah.
Under 15 boys team, right? And let me just caveat this by saying, okay, that I actually love watching the women's national soccer team because they actually win, right? First off, they won World Cups. I think that's
Mhm.
awesome. My when I was deployed last was when the women's national or women's World Cup was. And so I
Okay.
got to watch the US just beat the crap, out of other teams. And that's awesome and I loved it. But
Mhm.
again, man, you are the women's national team representing our country. And, I'm not trying to shame anybody when I say you lost to the under 15 league, FC Dallas under 15 league. You know, that should just tell you something genetically, physiologically about the differences between men and women, man.
Possibly, yeah, yeah.
And it doesn't mean that one gender is better than the other. And here's the thing too, in my opinion, women have so many awesome things to be proud of about who they are and what they are you don't need
Agree.
to sit here and try and be men. We have things that men are generally better at than women, or might be
Mhm.
more adept to. Because I can
Mhm.
think of plenty of women that would just kick my ass. You know what I mean?
100%.
Like back in
Yeah.
the day, there's no way I would have jumped in the ring with Ronda Rousey. You know what I mean? I'd have got
Yeah.
I'd got smoked. You know what I mean? But at the same time, like,
Yeah.
don't just be proud of what you are. You know what I mean?
It's just unfortunately, man, it's just like where things are going now in the past, I don't know, in the past, like, let's just say like 7 years or so. And it's just like, it's so sad that, like, how, like what you're saying in the sense of like, oh, well, I'm a female. I've got to do X, Y, and Z to feel established or feel powerful. It's like, okay, first off, the thing that comes to my head about a woman, the difference between a male is they can carry a child for 9 months and give birth. And men can't do that. I don't care what anybody says. You guys can comment in there. Not going to change my mind. Don't care. The fact that they can do that and their pain threshold and yada 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 and
Yeah.
like I remember looking up on an article one time when I was like when I got my first tattoo. God, this was like 2011 or something like that. And they were saying that women had a higher pain threshold than men and that they could sit through tattoo sessions and like just like not even like bat an eye essentially. And my first tattoo, of course, I'm not gonna lie, it was different. Never had that happen, but I wasn't jumping off the table and freaking hollering. But to know that women definitely have their feats of strength in different ways, and guys have theirs. Like that's what's so beautiful about that is you just bring that together, and you guys play off each other. It's I don't know.
Dude, and I'll say this too, man. Like the dynamic that in my marriage, right, that my wife and I have,
Mhm.
um, there are roles that I play that are 100% the masculine role, and there are roles that she plays that are 100% the feminine roles.
Mhm.
And but sometimes my wife is definitely more mechanically minded than me. She can look at an engine and be like, "Oh yeah, I understand what's going on there." You know what I
Okay.
mean? I'm
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
like that. And so I just not I'm not, man.
Yeah.
I'm more analytical, like,
Sure.
book
Yeah. Yeah.
smart kind of thing. And so I'm not ashamed to say that if you asked you know, I was bringing this story up, man. The one mechanical thing I've ever done in my life was YouTube how to fix my lawnmower, and I ride that story till the cows come home because I
Mm,
can't do that shit, man. That's not the way my brain works, you
hmm.
know.
Yeah.
And but my wife could do it, and it's just the way she is, man. And so, like you said, like it's a beautiful thing when you come together, right? And but I do think traditional roles are best.
It, it's
And when shit
it's
hits the fan,
yeah,
you go back to your traditional roles.
every single time. And if it's not broke, don't fix it, you know? And it's just people will make it seem broke
Yeah.
and try to to manipulate and change things. It's just
Here,
I don't like it,
here's where
Gresham.
I don't either, man. You know, and here's where I think a lot of this comes from.
Hmm.
Okay. And it's just my 2 cents. Um, the first college I went to was a little school in Wisconsin,
Hmm.
way up north on the, say it with me, Chequamegon Bay, called
I'm sorry.
Northland
Hold
College.
on. One more time.
Chequamegon Bay.
Shawamigan Bay.
That's right. In a little
There we
town called
go.
Ashland, Northland College, right?
Okay.
Um, and it's a more liberal school, put it that way. And the first time that I'd ever interacted with the concept of somebody wanting to break out of gender roles was there.
Hmm.
Okay, like that
Wow.
concept was completely and totally foreign to me. This is also 2006. Okay, so
Wow. Back
kind of
then.
way before a lot of this really hit prominence.
Hmm.
But I saw it on somebody's backpack, and it was a patch, and it just said "fuck traditional gender roles," and I was like, what? Like that's the first time I'd ever seen or conceptualized anything like that, and I was like, wow, that's a weird thought to
Where's that come
digest.
from?
Right. And I'd never had that thought before, you know what I mean? And I thought about it, I'm like, why? You know, but
Yeah.
I think that's where a lot of this transgender stuff comes from is people they don't, you know, let's just stick with women, right? They don't want to be categorized as, you know, this dress wearing homemaker, and that's okay. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like there are plenty of women that aren't like that, and there's
Hmm.
nothing wrong with that. But I think it's kind of morphed into something else. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And there's nothing wrong, in my opinion, with wanting to get outside of your gender norms, right? Like, if you know you're a chick that likes to work on cars, then dude, go work on cars. You know what I mean? That's not typically something you think of um, when you think of a woman and things she
Sure.
likes to
Yeah.
do. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But to say like fuck traditional gender roles. Like, no, like that's what got us here, right?
Sure.
That's exactly, man. That's men were the hunters, men were the ones that were
Gathering.
protecting,
Yeah. Yeah.
everybody. That's our role, right? And so I don't think it has anything to do with oh the patriarchy and keeping women in the home, and maybe there are some men that think like that, you know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Yeah.
And I certainly have met some through the course of my law enforcement career, men who do think that way. um a lot of lower beings, right?
Parents are pretty
But
huge for that too, man.
what's that?
Like parents and like the upbringing, like how they kind of like portray that into their children and stuff like that and how they raise them. I think that's also like
Well,
a big factor.
I mean it in like a really I hate using this word, but like a toxic way. Like it's
Okay.
like my wife 100% wants to be a stay-at-home mom and take care of our child, and I think that is
Same.
100% the best thing, right? But if
Yeah.
she's had her own career, right?
Yep.
I would never look at her and say, "Nope, barefoot in the kitchen, that's it," right? But there
I
are
see.
some
Yep.
men, what I'm
I
saying,
got
and
you.
I've met those kinds of men through law enforcement interactions that exist,
Hmm.
and I think that but anyway, all I'm saying is that traditional gender roles, we do have we are more adept to be the provider, right?
Yeah.
And women are more adept at being those motherly roles, man, and
Yeah.
taking care. And
So
there's
good for the kids.
literally nothing wrong with that, dude.
Nothing.
Literally nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so it's your question now, or are we on to number three?
I think it is my question.
Okay, yeah, because
And this is my second question.
Correct, correct.
Right.
I'm
So
tracking.
yeah, man. Central banking digital currency.
Shit, I forgot about this. I'm not gonna lie.
Dude, I know, man. We had to take it a
Where do
little
we?
serious, right?
So,
Um, yeah, go ahead.
oh man, how do we even like? My brain's going 100 miles an hour right now thinking about this. So I know in Florida, there, I believe, I don't know if they banned it yet, but they're trying to ban it to protect everybody's money in that bank or in the banks, right? For that in that system, because what is happening is the government. Correct me if I'm wrong. This is that we're doing this. We're doing this live. So the government is trying to make their own like almost like a one world currency, right? So they're trying to make this like digital currency to where the dollar essentially is going to go away, and now they control what you spend your money on. They control the bank system. They're like, nope, let's shut that off. You are not going to be able to buy this. You're not going to be able to buy that, or you can't use this. You know, this, that, and the other. Um, and I think it is a horrible idea. Um, and it just seems so set up to me. The fact that like, oh, let's just keep printing money and keep printing money and keep printing money and keep printing money. And what does that cause? Everybody that has ever gone through middle school, high school, I hope that they understand and they've paid attention, causes inflation. And now look what is happening during inflation. And you can't just get rid of what is over like 30 trillion in debt, something like that. Like you don't just get rid of that overnight. And so now it's like they're trying to come up with this like one world currency and do the central bank system. Um,
I look at it
it's
like
just,
this.
yeah,
It, you have a completely and total digital currency, right?
yeah,
And I have no idea if the plan is to say paper money is no good here
hmm
anymore, right?
hmm
But if there is all you have to spend is digital currency, okay?
correct.
It's controlled by somebody, okay? And that somebody is a federal entity, and the second you do something that they don't like, your
Boom.
access is gone. This isn't, I've got this massive wad of cash stuffed in a plastic bag that I've got taped to the inside of my toilet where you wouldn't think to look,
hmm
or I've got this, wad of cash underneath my bed and that's my go-to e-fund, right? There would be none of that anymore. Just like if you had an electric car and you needed to drive it somewhere and the power grid doesn't work, or let's say with everything, all the smart stuff in your house, right? Your smart TV, your smart washer and dryer,
hmm
your smart electric car, your smart
Smart.
house, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well, you know what? Chris said something online that I don't really like, and yeah, we'll just turn the electricity off to his house, and
Yeah.
and you can't do anything. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I'm just saying that it's so easy for somebody to take that away from you if all you have is something digital that's not tangible, that exists only on a screen, that is completely and totally at the whim of somebody else if something should happen, right? And I
Massive
remember
control.
this is a big reason why when even I can remember when I was a kid, my dad was very, very much opposed to using a debit card because he did not like having where that was more bank involvement in something, even though like we all think of it, a debit card as almost like an instant check, right? Because that's
Sure.
what you're
Yeah.
doing. But I remember hearing him talk to like my grandparents on the phone, talking about how he didn't like using a debit card because it's it's too instantaneous, right? He didn't like that. That he kind of felt that this was some sort of more bank involvement in what you have and how you spend your money, right?
hmm
um, that it's also tracks exactly where you spend your money. If you go on your statement and you go spend $150 on groceries, which
Paper
nowadays will
trail.
get you a loaf
Not
of
really
bread,
paper trail, but
and a gallon of milk, it'll tell
yeah.
you bought those groceries at Walmart and then you went to Taco Bell to get food because we all do that when we go grocery shopping. You're like, I don't want any of this crap I just bought. I want Taco Bell and I'm going to go home and eat that. Right? It'll tell you spent money at Taco Bell, right? And but I don't like it, man. It's 100% a non-tangible thing
It's
that
scary, dude.
somebody else has total power over, and it's money. It's your money. This
hmm
isn't. I can't. I'm trying to think of something that is irrelevant that I don't care if somebody has control over because I don't like control. Something someone having control over me at all. But money might as well
Yeah,
be
it's
air.
yeah, and for everybody out there, don't even try to go down the route of us being like financial advisors. Nowhere near that.
No,
But
no.
looking up into it, I've been talking to my wife, and it's like, there's been times where, we're like, what are we going to do if this does happen, or if in case, or yada, 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 XYZ. And it's one of those things where, I follow a lot of very successful entrepreneurs, real estate people, the whole nine, right? And they've been saying it since 2020, and it's getting worse and worse and worse, right? They've been all saying that, like, pull your cash out of the bank and put it into like a liquid asset, right? I.e., real estate, other kinds of property. Now they're saying even try to throw it back into gold and silver and stuff like that. And you know, the research that I've done and what I've known and talked to friends that have done said things and been successful, I mean, I don't see them being wrong. I feel they're completely right. And setting up yourself for like liquid assets, to retain that stuff every month, because you got a guaranteed in source or a source of income, boom, hitting every time. Then, like you said, you leave your money in the bank now, and if they get a hold of it and they control it, now what? Now it's the value zero. So,
So when I was in Montana, there was an NCO. He's still in the Air Force who was very, very money minded.
mhm,
Paid a lot of attention to the world, what was going on, and made decisions that way. Very intelligent person.
mhm,
And he's the person that told me first about buying precious metals and specifically buying silver. And since then, I have put some of my money into liquid assets, things that are tangible. I'm not going to say what it is,
yeah,
um, but he bought a lot of silver, and I don't know where it is, whatever. I know that there are places if you go online to buy silver, and if you buy them in ounce bars or 5 ounce bars or whatever, you
mhm.
can also arrange to never see that, and it gets sent to a vault for you.
Ooh,
But you can also get it sent to your house. But anyway, I've never forgotten that, and one of the reasons I've never forgotten it is because I've literally never heard anybody until talking to Aaron mention buying precious metals. And it's like
it's
that's
a
really
sign,
smart.
dude.
And not a
Yeah,
lot of people know that, man. And like you said, don't consider us financial advisors. This is not financial advice. Do something better with your money than letting it sit in a bank account, though, would be my recommendation. And if
yep.
I could say too, with the this federal digital currency, right? Um, I think some of the best examples of why this could be such a massive failure is cryptocurrency, right? Look
Mhm.
at what just happened with FTX, right? all that
Massive
all
scam.
that money gone. It's just some,
Billions.
pasty looking dude, blowing it on hookers and cocaine, you know what I mean? This
Mhm.
scam. And he is a person like the other people that sit in offices, and in federal banks in the IRS, right? These people are just people. They're not uncorruptible individuals. These are not robots, sitting in there that make 100% objective decisions. And I don't like the fact that somebody I don't know has control over my money, and it's not tangible. It's just on a screen. But I think if you look at crypto, that is one of the best referendums on why hell no, no central banking digital currency. Because you could lose it all, man. You sit there and you funnel 100 grand into a crypto coin, and then you find out that it's
Wake
just
up.
some, yeah,
Yep.
that all that money went to just buying stupid crap by some 25-year-old dude in China. Well, that sucks, man.
Yeah, yeah. Have you seen the documentary on Netflix? Came out a few years ago, I believe, called Firefly.
Dude, honestly, I have no idea what you're talking about. So you're gonna have to fill
So,
me in.
yeah, so that is almost similar in the sense of like the FTX scam, right? With the cryptocurrency. Well, this dude from Firefly scammed people out of going to these like let's just say like island vacations. They would send him an X amount of money, and he would set up almost man, what is that thing that happens in California in the desert? What is that thing called out there? The fireman or something?
Oh, Burning Man.
Burning Man, fire burning, same thing. But the
Oh,
Burning
Lil
Man,
Wayne.
yeah, yeah. So he sets all this stuff up on like this island somewhere, private island, but he charges an excruciating amount to have people go out and party and have the time of their lives. And he would promise all these artists and this and that and the other, and people are just filtering all this money. They got to fly themselves there, and then you got to watch the documentary. I mean, this guy scammed people like overnight, essentially building up to this huge thing. And yeah, man, he didn't care. Took everybody's money.
How did how did word of mouth not stop that pretty much dead in its tracks? You know what I
Uh,
mean?
yeah, man. He was friends with a lot of celebrities, I believe, and so he was like paying these people. So, for people out there, if you ever heard of Rob Peter to pay Paul, that's what this guy did, and he did it tenfold. So that's the thing is like,
I'll have
you
to check
know,
that out, man.
yeah, it's pretty wild, man. I love documentaries, and so does my
Mhm.
wife. So it's like a very easy conversation to have with her, and we sit down and enjoy it. And it's just so bizarre, dude, that this guy got away with so much stuff for the time that he did. It's insane. It's absolutely insane.
That that makes me think about when you hear about cults, right?
Hmm.
And it's like, how do you get sucked into, you know, oh, hey, me and my wife, we just joined this cult and we're going to start giving all of our money to this random person. And now, by the way, he says
Seen
he's
those
got to
too.
nail my wife so that we can all go to heaven. And I'm just going to let it happen. And then we're going to have kids on this compound and, we're going to live. It's like, dude, how convincing of a person do you have to be to convince somebody to do stuff like that? Like, I feel like cult leaders and people like that, like this person, right?
Hmm.
Bernie Madoff, all these people that just convinced so many others to follow them and just
Hmm.
give them their money and their time and their life. Like there's going to be something in your brain that just makes you like so much better at that because I could not try to convince you to just give me thousands and thousands of dollars. First off, I wouldn't even know what to say.
Yeah.
Secondly, my integrity would just kick in and be like, "You're a piece of shit. Stop." You know
Yep.
what I mean? And so it's
Yeah.
just that's wild, man. And I feel like that documentary would be one of those where you're sitting there watching, and you're like, "Dude, this is crazy. It's interesting." And now I'm angry because
I couldn't understand
screw
it.
this guy.
Couldn't
You
understand
know?
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um. Yeah. So that was yeah,
Firefly.
Firefly, yeah, I think it's still on Netflix, it's pretty
How
good.
long ago did this happen?
God, man, I wanna say I'm gonna look it up, maybe like 2020, maybe? Let me see,
Oh, so this
Firefly.
like really just happened.
Yeah,
Maybe I haven't Maybe I haven't heard
it's
about it because COVID's been in the news so much, you know what I mean, at that time.
yeah, this guy, I don't know how long that he went to jail for. He got out relatively pretty easy. Man, I hope I'm not butchering this. I can't even see it on here for Netflix.
We need a
But
Jamie. Pull that shit up, Jamie.
we do need a Jamie. But this is let's see here. Fire Island maybe is what it's called. I don't know. For some reason I can't find it. Oh well, somebody out there is gonna correct me.
Wait,
Which
wait,
is
is this that documentary about it was like supposed to be the most epic party ever
mhm,
and it was total garbage?
mhm,
No, what I
yeah.
heard about that.
Dude, people flew to this island, and in order to or sorry, let me back up a little bit. People flew to an island or a country or whatever, and then they would have to take like a charter plane or like a Cessna to be able to get to this island. And then when they got there, it was nothing what they paid for. People were sleeping in freaking tents.
It's
Um,
called Fire.
it's just called straight fire.
Fire. Yeah, FYRE,
Oh,
Fire, the
that's what it
greatest
is.
party that
Okay.
never happened. Fire
Yep.
Festival.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
I
thank
remember
you
hearing
for
about
pulling that up,
this.
Jamie. Yeah. So,
Yeah, you're welcome.
dude, it was just I think her and I were just dumbfounded, man. It's just like how
Yeah.
like some of these people, like no BS, were giving up like $50,000 to $80,000, $100,000 a person just to go to do this party. And first off, how the heck do these people have all this money? Because you should see the amount of people that he scammed. It was incredible.
I wonder how much money he actually made, but that's wild, man.
Yeah, not too
Uh,
sure,
yeah,
but
no, I remember hearing about that now. It didn't click in my head, you know what I mean? I wonder how many people are listening to us, like, when you started telling this, and they're just, like, yelling in their car. They're
you
like,
idiot.
"Fire festival!
Yeah, yeah,
Fire
yeah.
festival!"
I
You know
think
what I
there's like
mean?
a
And then we
second
just like,
one or something
"Oh,
like
we
that.
made it, we finally," you know what I mean? "We connected the dots."
Yeah, yeah.
And you know, I do that so many times sitting there, dude. Like, listening to podcasts is like listening in on a conversation that you can't participate in, and
Yeah.
I love it.
You're like a
But it's so
mime
funny how many
stuff.
times you want to say like, no, you're wrong, or
Yeah.
oh man, yeah. I bet somebody's like, dude, you're talking about Fire Festival, like, oh, there, congratulations, you made it there. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that was a pretty wild documentary. So let's go to question 3. Um,
Oh,
this one is, I don't know, probably one of my favorites. This is the NFL. For those
oh,
that don't like sports, fast forward. If you want to know a little bit about something, go ahead. But I love the NFL. I do have to say, disclaimer. Um, I do not like the whole like kneeling. It's a bunch of bullshit to me. But anyways, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. But the NFL, the Jacksonville Jaguars is my team. Okay, everybody, a lot of my friends know that.
oh,
Man, did they turn it around last year? Hiring Doug Peterson,
I
finally
agree.
getting rid of Urban Meyer, and they went through 3 head coaches, bro. And in my opinion, they finally did it. And I've been telling you, I think, God, man, I think before they did their first game with Doug Peterson, I'm like, man, this team is going to win the Super Bowl by 2025. And it seems far fetched for some people, but I'm going to
I don't
stick
think
with
it's
it.
that far fetched.
I'm going to stick with it, man. And we're in the process right now, I hope, of trying to get Calais Campbell back because he's a free agent off the Ravens now. Um, Man, dude was insane. He did so well in Jacksonville for like 3 years. Now we got Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne. We just got Calvin Ridley, who is now allowed, or the wide receivers and players allowed to change their numbers. So he's happy about having number 0, and he's the only, or I guess the first and only wide receiver to have the number right now. But man, I feel like our team is pretty darn good. Um, I think Trevor Lawrence is almost going to be like wine. It's just going to get better, over time, and with that age, and he can throw it. Um, I still think he's kind of agile. He's got to work on it. He's kind of stiff hip when he dances a little bit, but man, we got some weapons, and it's nice to know that. It's very nice to know. And I last year I think we got like what 9 wins or something like that, and I think this season coming up. Um, with the schedule that I looked at, give me a second. I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and I'm gonna say we're gonna win 10 plus games. Just I think we're
You
gonna
say
do
10 plus?
10 plus games just to get us into the playoffs, and I think once we get there, it's gonna just light a fire under our butts, and I feel like we're gonna be coming with some heat. So,
Yeah, actually, when you said that, my brain went to 11 plus. So we're right there.
mhm.
But dude, you brought up Calais Campbell, man. Just cannot believe all the weapons we used to have on defense at one
2017,
time. Okay,
2017. I'll never forget it.
Miles Jack wasn't down. I don't care what you say,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
That game against the Patriots,
Hmm.
that should have been us. Okay.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, dude,
The
Jalen Ramsey,
refs,
the refs. Of course it was. Dude, that defense was so stacked.
stupid.
And it just was like, you know what I mean?
We were
Gone.
winning that game.
I know. Well, yeah. Oh, it still makes me sick, man. Cause like, I'm sorry, dude. Like, I throw a lot of that on Blake Bortles. Okay, like we had Uncle Rico out there
Oh,
as our quarterback.
he ain't got
You
no
know,
arm, bro.
bro, no, and it's just. I swear, man. Even if we had Jay Cutler out there, I'd have felt better. And
Ooh,
yeah, that's saying
ooh,
something. Yeah, or Big Dick Nick, someone get him
yeah.
out there. We experimented with that. But
Yikes.
yeah, dude. No, I'm excited. I think I'm more of a college football. Like I pay way more attention to
Yeah,
college football than
yeah.
NFL. But yeah, man, I'm excited. I think it's gonna be good. There's a lot of changes this off season.
It's been a
And
wild offseason across the league in general. Like it's been bizarre. You got, Odell Beckham that is some team offered him like single digit millions and he was, obviously, he thinks he's worth more. Now he's wanting double digit millions and I think he was saying he was wanting like 15 mil a year or something like that. It's pretty up there, bro, cuz most of those guys get like, 3-4 year contracts.
Mhm.
Excuse me, but you know,
Who's the
uh
highest paid receiver in the league?
Oh shit, dude. Wide receiver, highest paid wide receiver in the league. Very good
Pull that
question.
shit up, Jamie.
I'm not too sure. Wow, that sucks. I can tell you who the running back was, but he's no longer on the team. It was Ezekiel Elliott. I have never in my wildest dreams thought a running back would get paid as much as he got, and then he just completely tanked afterwards. And what a horrible, horrible investment. And I love Ohio State. My team is the Ohio State Buckeyes. And he was phenomenal in college. And then the first like 2 or 3 years in the NFL, got that fat contract, dude, and then just completely nosedived afterwards. And I hate to see that for players, but man,
I'll
it's
say
just
this though, man. I think that who he was in college and then who he is in the NFL,
mhm.
those are two different styles of running back, first
Sure,
off,
yeah.
right? The way he played. And I think that the Cowboys have a good tandem in him and Tony Pollard. Dude, because that guy can run the freaking ball, man. I
Mhm.
had I had Zeke on my fantasy team, and he was okay. You know what I mean? You get down there in the red zone, they kind of just let Zeke punch it in, so you'd get a touchdown or so,
He's
but
like
like
Jamal
Tony Pollard,
Williams
man, did all the work. You
every
know what I
time.
mean? And that dude runs hard. You know what I mean? Who's
They
is it?
franchise tagged him too. So he's
Yeah, I saw
staying.
that,
So
man. But going back to T Law, man, like I don't know, dude. Like I could see what you're saying about
I know you
him
don't you don't you
aging
don't
like a
like him that
wine,
much, man.
man. I never, dude.
Just go
Yeah, I
ahead.
don't, man. I'm
Go
not
ahead.
that sold on him. I'm
Don't
just
see
not,
it.
dude. Like
Okay.
I don't, man. And it's not the hair. I don't care about that. Like a lot of
Sunshine.
people like to razz him, dude. Sunshine.
Yeah.
But I don't see greatness. It's
I
just
can't
my
get
opinion,
the
man.
I
And
I can't get the look in the image when somebody was like, "Oh, he looks like Lord Farquaad." And I'm like, "Shit." And now every time
no, I
yes, dude.
disagree.
No,
You think he looks like Lord Farquaad?
dye his hair black or whatever it is in the movie, he looks like Lord Farquaad. Dude, I can't get out of my head.
Who's Shrek then?
Uh Calais Campbell, I don't
I was just about to say, is it Calais
know.
Campbell? It's gotta
Yeah,
be.
I
Oh,
really
it's
hope we
probably
get him,
Urban
man.
Meyer,
He's a
honestly.
freaking monster, dude, and he deserves it. And we signed a lot of guys on like 1 year contracts, so it really makes me feel that this next season's going to mean something and be very, very good.
Mhm.
But I think within the next 2 years, we're going to get that. We're going to get that Super Bowl. I think so.
I could see that, man.
Yeah.
Um, I really can, dude. Come out of left field. Um, when I think I've ever told you the story about how I became a Jacksonville Jaguars fan.
I think you did, man, but you're gonna have to like tell me again because it's been a while.
So I'm opening myself up for a lot here, but my uncle is a diehard Cowboys fan, and
Mhm.
I always give him crap. And he's one of those people that's like, "We didn't, boys. This our year, right?" And I
For
grew
the
up
last
around
27
him,
years.
dude. I know, like, you got to bust out the VCR to watch those highlights. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and but I grew up around him quite a bit before my dad joined the Air
Mhm.
Force, and so of course, man, like he was. He's my uncle, and I spent a lot of time with him, hanging out, playing basketball, this stuff. And so, of course, who did I like? I liked the Cowboys because my uncle liked the Cowboys. And but when my dad joined the Air Force, his second assignment was at Offutt Air Force Base in Nebraska, and we lived in a duplex on base. Well, not on base, off base housing. But the
Cornhuskers.
neighbor was having a party, and my parents were over there, and I was old enough to be next door on my own. And but my parents told me if I need anything, I could come next door. Right? I used to have one of those starter jackets, like Cowboys starter jackets. You know what I'm talking about? Like
Oh, the White
the ones
Star, the S.
what like half zip down. You know what I mean? Like the one that like is like $400 now if you find it on eBay.
Yeah.
And but I used to have one, and I went
Oh
next
wow.
door to try and find my mom and dad, and there was a guy standing outside, and immediately this dude was like, "Yo, what are you doing, little man?" And I was like, and he's like, first off, he's like, we don't let Cowboys fans in this house. And I
Hmm.
was like, didn't know what to say because I'm like 9. I'm like, uh, you know. And so I just asked him, I'm like, oh, who do you like? And he's like, the Saints. And the only player on the Saints I knew at the time was really Willie Rolfe because I had his like
Oh
Topps
wow.
card. And yeah, and I was like, "Oh, I know Willie Rolfe," and he's like, "Oh, good for you," blah blah blah. He's like, "Well, he's like, I'm gonna open the door for you, little man, because you knew somebody on the Saints." He's like, "But if I see you at this house again," he's like, "You better pick a real team." And I was like, "Oh shit." Like, okay, and then for some reason, dude, like
Yes,
this
master.
random ass interaction with this dude, I have no idea who he is. So if you are hearing this and you remember telling some 9-year-old Cowboys fan to get rid of my jacket and get a better one,
Hmm.
dude, the next year is when the Panthers and Jaguars were expansion teams, and at the time, like,
95, baby.
yeah, man, dude, and at the time, I
Yeah.
didn't like any of the Florida teams, the NFL teams, because I'm a Florida State fan. I'm from Florida,
Hmm.
and I didn't like the Bucks, and I didn't like the Dolphins, and I think it's because, as stupid as it sounds, but I was a kid, I had like that NFL bedspread that everybody had back in the day
Hmm.
with all the helmets on it.
Hmm.
And I didn't like that, dreamsicle orange and white, and I liked Dan Marino because my dad liked Dan Marino, but I just couldn't get
Hmm.
down with the whole Dolphin thing. And the Jaguars came out, and my dad was like, "Oh, Jacksonville's in Florida," and I'm like, "That's it. I got to find this
Dude,
random
and
guy
the
and tell him,
colors are awesome.
dude, the colors are fantastic."
Yeah, it looks
And
great.
dude, actually, I did. I ended up seeing that guy again at the next year's like Halloween party or whenever it was, and I told him I picked a real team and I was the Jaguars, and we were cool after that.
He was
But
he so he accepted the Jaguars?
no, I did. I went from being a
Oh,
Cowboys fan to a Jaguars fan, but I saw him after I converted, right?
okay.
And I had a Jaguars starter jacket that I got for Christmas, got
Uh-huh.
rid of the Cowboys one,
Uh-huh.
at the chagrin of my uncle. And
Sure.
I seen the guy the next year, and I told him, I'm like, I did this because of you. And he
All
remembered the
right.
conversation and everything. Like, I don't know why that
Yeah,
happened. Clearly, it was destiny. You know what I mean?
I
But
agree.
it's been, yeah, it's been that ever since.
All right. So I believe it's your third question now, right?
Is it my third question?
Yeah.
Word. Okay.
I'm
Weirdest
always
thing that's
nervous.
ever happened to you? What's that?
I don't know why I'm always nervous when you ask me these random these questions, and even though we kind of like jotted them down, it's just like I like to be able to forget, and so
What's
weirdest
your
thing is
social and your credit card number?
oh shit, I don't know, whatever the military is. Weirdest thing that's ever happened to me, rap.
Be
Weirdest,
anything.
weirdest, weirdest.
Yeah, man. Like you could have met a really weird person. You had a weird interaction. I don't know, man.
It's a very good question. The weirdest thing that's ever happened to me. Let's do
Joining the
uh
military. I'm just kidding.
I have something that came to my head, but I don't really consider it weird. It was just like wrong place, wrong time kind of.
Okay, that's
So
weird.
is it? We define that. Would that work? I don't know.
Yeah, sure.
I'll just
In
roll it,
your
dude.
brain,
I'll just roll it. So um
roll
it,
it.
old neighborhood in Arizona. One of our friends in the neighborhood, family, I wouldn't say was like really well off, but they had some toys like dirt bikes and quads and stuff like that.
Mm.
And there was probably about 15 of us. And the dad kept coming in and out of the house and stuff like that, making sure, checking on us kids, because people were taking turns on this dirt bike, just ripping it up and down the road. I think it was like, at that time, like a 50cc bike. Still pretty
Yeah.
quick. I mean, I was little or littler. Um, didn't weigh very much, of course, but we were ripping it up and down the street, and everybody had their turn. And then all of a sudden, I get on the bike and I'm ripping up and down the street, and 17 cop cars come. Like, you would think I'm playing freaking Grand Theft Auto. I hit a cop car, I got 5 stars, and I killed somebody. And I thought it was weird to me that I get on this bike and then now the cops are like, essentially, they're not chasing me, but it's like the cops block me off. I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? I think I was like 10 or 11 years old. And this lady comes outside and she's like screaming at us to stop going up and down the road because it's so loud. And I was like, whatever. And I was just like, "Rah, rah, 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 rah," and then I just took off, right? 10, 11 years old. And I see a cop car, boom, comes around the corner, dude, speeding. And then there comes another cop car around the corner. And then I'm like, whoa, what's going on? And I know I exaggerated when I said 17, but there's probably like 6 cop cars. Still a little ridiculous for kids riding dirt bikes in a neighborhood. Um,
Totally agree.
but who knows, dude? I could have had a Mac 10 or something. And
Too
so,
bad you didn't.
yeah, exactly. They blocked me off, and the cop goes, step out of the vehicle. I'm sitting here like, what do you mean step out? I'm like,
Get
I'm
outside.
I'm on this dirt bike. I was like, all right, this guy's messing with me. And so I kind of look over at him. I was like, what? And he's like, step out of the vehicle. I'm like, how am I going to step out? Literally what I said. He's like, don't get smart with me. I'm like, okay. And then he goes, hit the kill switch. So I turn the dirt bike off, tells me to step off of the vehicle instead of step out.
Words matter.
And he goes, and then the dad comes outside. They're trying to figure out what's going on. And in the end of it, I feel kind of bad because that dad and that family ended up getting the ticket. We didn't, but he goes, "Where are your parents at?" I'm like, "Oh, they're around the corner. They're at a house party." And he's like, "All right." He was like, "I'm going to take you over to your parents." I'm like, "Okay." And then of course, doing what he did next was probably trying to set an example. I'm not going to lie, it did not work for me. Did not try to throw any kind of image, but he handcuffed me, put my hands behind my back, handcuffed me, put me in the back of the car, and I don't. Back then, I think this was in the '90s, like late '90s, probably. Yeah, late '90s. And the back of the cop cars were almost like booth style seats, like that you would see like in a diner.
Yeah.
Like almost like super like puffy and bouncy. So I'm sitting back there and I got my hands cuffed and I'm bouncing up and down in the seat. I'm like, man, these seats are comfy. And he turns around, he's like, you like that? I was like, yeah, they're pretty comfortable. He's like, oh, do you want to go down to the station? And I was like, no. And he's like, well, all right, stop doing that. I'm like, okay. Turns the corner, takes me to my parents. And of course, all the adults are drinking. Everyone's like, oh shit, the cops are here. And they see me get out, handcuffed behind my back. Everyone's like, oh my God, what happened? And then he like tells me to stand by the car, goes up to my parents, obviously told them I was probably riding a dirt bike and it's just being, belligerent, whatever. And then he takes the handcuffs off me. And then 5 seconds later, everyone's like, "Oh, what happened?" And I told them, and they're like, "Oh, all right, come inside. Let's go. Let's finish this party." I'm like, "Cool." So that's like my semi like I thought was weird to me that all of a sudden, like out of the 15 kids that were there, it's just unlucky and a coincidence that I get on the bike and I'm having all these issues, and then all of a sudden I get freaking I'm in like this cordon, and the cops are telling me to step out of the vehicle, which didn't make sense. I'm getting handcuffed, so that's my story.
You know what happened, man, is that's the way that that cop rehearsed that traffic stop over and over and over again, step out of the vehicle.
Hmm.
So when that happened, he was probably nervous and just reverted back to his training. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
exactly. Yeah.
That even makes no sense. So I've had a lot of weird things happen to me. One of them I'm gonna save for our fan suggested episode because it's on the paranormal. and I
Mm.
don't want to tell that story because I want to save it for the
Please,
episode.
please save it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But I'm gonna tell you one of the many really, really weird law enforcement interactions I've had since you were talking about yours was a law enforcement one, right?
Hmm.
Um, so Montana, I'm on mid shift, and me and my buddy Bernard were driving down the main road on base, and all of a sudden we get a phone call, or not a phone call, a radio call about a gate runner at our main gate, and that the last known direction of travel was down the main road. And we're like, oh shit, we're on the main road, right? And so like we wait for the description of the vehicle, it comes over, and we see it. We're like, oh dude, like there it is, like holy cow, man, like we were right here the whole time.
Hmm.
And so this car, it just, there's this massive parking lot, right? And it just pulls into the parking lot and just stops. And it was like, if somebody planned an exercise, this is what would happen. Cause it was like open area, just stops for us, so we're like, okay, like we just pull up behind it, right? Do what we need to do. Another patrol rolls up, and you know we're telling the person what to do, right? And we get out on the PA. They get out of the car, back up, all this stuff, and it's some older woman, and she just unbuttons her pants, drops trowel, kind of does a half squat, and just starts peeing. And she didn't take her pants off, so just basically started peeing into her pants. Okay. And then we're just like looking at
Nice.
each other. And my supervisor at the time, who, which is awesome for her, is the only female patrolman on our flight. Okay.
Oh wow.
So this is her person when it gets down to it. Right. And I just look over at her, and she looks at me, and I was like, we didn't say anything, but we both knew. We were like, damn, like you're gonna have to search her and her piss pants. And she just finishes and stands up, or pulls them up and just comes
What a
back like no big
G.
deal. And I just like look at her, and I'm like, it's all you. You got
Yeah.
this, and she
Yeah.
does. She cuffs her, and obviously she had some PPE she put on and all this stuff. But
Sure. Yeah, I would hope so.
that was super weird, man. And
That's
then
gross.
I had and I've had a few spooky things, like spooky weird things happen to me on patrol before.
Hmm.
But I'll tell one more since that one was kind of quick. But
Hmm.
I used to work at our 911 dispatch center, and this is also in Montana. And I had a lot of weird crap that happened to me too when I was in Germany. But
Hmm.
um, I got a phone call one night because we would get really random phone calls from odd people all the time, and they would just like ask us stupid questions or tell us weird crap, and then they're like, okay, have a good day. And I'm
Is
like,
your refrigerator running?
thanks for wasting my time. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And anyway, so it's again on mid shift, and I get a phone call, and I answer it, and it's this guy,
Hmm.
and he's like, "Yeah, I'm outside your gate, and I'm looking at your gate guards right now. Yeah, they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing." And I'm like, at first, I'm like,
Hmm.
is this insert name? You know what I mean? Like thinking it's somebody on our flight that's like crank calling me. You know what I mean? And he's like, no. I was like, okay. I'm like, what do you mean that you're looking at, my guys? He's like, what the fuck do you think I mean? I'm standing out here and I'm looking at them and they ain't doing what they're supposed to be doing. I'm like, well, what aren't they doing? You know what I mean? And he's like, we're supposed to be checking ID cards, but they're just sitting in the shack. And I'm like, are there cars? Are you waiting in line? Like, are you just
Hmm.
sitting there? Like, I'm thinking, like, what is the point of this phone call right now?
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm in a white van and I'm just looking at him. And I'm like, okay. And so I mute the call, get on the radio, and I was like, you know, Golf One, do you have a white van outside your gate looking at you? And they're like, negative. And I'm like, okay, what the hell's going on? Anyway, it's the only gate open at the time. So in my
Hmm.
brain, I'm like thinking, and I'm not gonna go like too into what I was thinking about. But there are other gates around, and I'm like, maybe he's there. And I'm like, are you near the installation? I was like, are you like, somewhere else? He's like, no, motherfucker. He's like, I'm right here, blah blah blah. And I'm like, okay, like, like, okay, well, no one sees you. Is there a problem? Can I help you? You know what I mean? And he just goes off about how he's a farmer,
Hmm.
and when recently he saw this weird crap out over his farmland, and he knows it was the base, and just trying to tell me there were UFOs and all this stuff. And it was just really really weird, man. And that conversation lasted for like in maybe an hour,
Oh,
because there's
damn.
nothing else going on,
So
you
where
know what I
was he?
mean? I have no idea. I have no idea. I have no idea where he was.
Wicked.
And yeah, and you there's a very long approach to that gate. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
you could have seen if somebody, drove up and
Sure.
stopped, you know what I
Yeah.
mean, or whatever. Um, but we used to get all kinds of weird phone calls. We even would get phone calls that like farmers would be like, "Hey man, my name's Rich. I'm out here in whatever town, and I own this land out here, and I know y'all got things out here. I just want to tell you, I've seen some weird stuff out in the sky. I don't know who to call." He's like, "I just want to let you know, man. You need my name and info," and like they're dead serious. You know what I mean? They're
Yeah,
like, "I live
sure,
out
yeah.
here. Here's my name, here's my phone number, here's my address." Like willingly giving me information. And but yeah, no, that one's always stuck with me because it was like kind of spooky for a while. And I'm like,
It's
you know,
super random.
part of me is concerned that like he
Yeah.
was gonna walk up on the gate and like open fire or something. I have no idea. But
You never
anyway,
know.
lots of weird random things happen to you when you're a cop. So
Yeah. Okay, fourth question for me is what is your favorite movie?
whoa.
Another hard one, I know.
It is. It's just like there's so many genres of movie. It's hard to just say this one's my favorite. Um, I
Hmm.
used to my go-to that I like tell somebody who like I don't want to get into like a big conversation with is Braveheart. And that movie's amazing.
Good
Okay.
movie.
Yeah. Secondly, that was like the movie my dad and I used to watch all the time together, even when I was a kid, even though it was rated R. We had
Hmm.
like the double VHS set that would stop and you had to put the new one in. You know what I mean? Because the movie's like 3+ hours
Every
long.
time. Yeah.
Yep. Um, Braveheart for sure, Gladiator. We talked about that, earlier. But Gladiator is excellent. Um, Mrs. Doubtfire is a great movie. I'll say a weird one, or one that a couple that I feel like maybe not everybody will know about that are definitely two of my favorites.
Hmm.
First one is The Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. If you've never seen that, that has Kate Winslet, and you may have seen her
Yeah.
um, in Titanic. A lot of her in Titanic.
Yeah.
Um,
Wife's
yep,
favorite movie.
yeah. Oh, Titanic,
Favorite movie.
dude. And then Jim Carrey is in it actually.
No shit.
Yeah, man, check it out. It's really, really good.
Okay.
I don't want
I
to
do
give
like
away
Jim.
too much of it because it's one of those movies you kind of have to figure out what's going on.
Okay.
But it's fantastic. I love that movie, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Okay.
Um, and then the other one, this one's kind of out there too that not a lot of people know. And don't laugh at me, because this is a total like almost like a romantic movie,
No
but
budge.
like more like a romantic drama. But it's called Meet Joe Black. Uh, and
Who's
I
in
don't know.
that?
Say that again.
Who's in there? Because I felt like I've seen this title before.
Yeah. So the two biggest name actors in that movie are Anthony Hopkins, or should I say Sir
Ooh.
Anthony Hopkins, and Brad Pitt. And it's an old movie. Brad Pitt is super young in it. And I'll tell you, like bluff, right? Bottom line up front. Um, Basically what it is Anthony Hopkins' character is extremely rich. Okay, he wakes the opening scene of the movie is him waking up and death is talking to him and he can hear it,
Hmm.
and basically tells him that his time is coming, to an end, and it's right before his birthday, and he's got two daughters. One of them feels like the other is the favorite, right? And so the one that doesn't feel like the favorite is going all out for like his 65th birthday because she wants to feel loved by this guy, right?
Okay.
Um, but the youngest daughter meets Brad Pitt's character in a
Hmm.
cafe. They have this like interaction, and then he gets freaking ran over by a car like literally 2 seconds later. Like yeah, and he's dead. But death takes over Brad Pitt's body to basically go and interact with Anthony Hopkins. and he tells him, like, he meets him in his study one night, and he's like, hey, he's like, in exchange for more time on Earth, you're gonna teach me how to be a human being. And it's really good, man. It's
Send it to
definitely
me
one of those
after the
that like,
podcast. I'm gonna look it up.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It'll definitely tug at your heartstrings. It's kind of
Okay.
awkward
Okay.
because it's kind of an awkward movie, but it's
Hmm.
really, really good.
Trying to think of this movie, dude. I don't know why, but you just reminded me of I think it's the best movie that I've ever seen this actor do, in my opinion.
Okay.
Um what is it? My wife and I absolutely love this movie. It is called came out in 2017 apparently. I thought it was a little bit earlier than that or later, I guess, like 2019. But it is called The Upside. Do you remember that?
No.
Okay, so I didn't want to say who the main, actor was, but it's Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart and Bryan Cranston, the guy that plays Breaking Bad, I believe.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know who
Um,
that is.
he, I don't want to say anything about the movie because it is a phenomenal movie, dude. And I know it just, I don't know, it just reminded me of that. And I just never thought that I would see Kevin Hart in a role like that. And it definitely tugged at your heartstrings. So I'm
Right.
an emotional person. And yeah, great movie. But yeah.
So I'm gonna throw out another movie that
Okay.
is one of my favorites. It's super old.
Oh, geez, man. I
Um,
feel like my wife should be on this podcast, dude. She is the movie buff.
is she, dude?
Swear.
All right. This is an old one. Like when I say old, I don't mean like 80s
50s?
old. Maybe
Okay.
I'd have to look it up, but it's called Arsenic and Old Lace. You ever heard of it?
No, sir.
Dude, I want to say I think it's Jimmy Stewart is the main character.
Okay.
But basically what it is it's a Halloween movie. It's supposed to be like a funny oh dude, you just made me think of another movie that I'm totally gonna talk about after this one. Sorry. Tangent, right? Squirrel. But basically his aunts are murdering old men who are like alone in the world, and they think they're doing them a favor because they have no one else. So they like
Hmm.
let them
Okay.
stay at their halfway house, and then they like take care of them and like treat them really, really well. And then one night, their last dinner, they do it up for them, and then they give them an arsenic laced drink, and then they get rid of the bodies. And this is a super old movie, man. It's really, really funny. Like you'd have to see it. It's like keep an open mind, like if you watch it, because it's a black and white
It's
movie,
yeah, it's
but
old.
it's really, really good. But dude, when I start talking about horror comedy, the first movie, I know I've talked to you about this movie before, that came to mind is The Burbs with Tom Hanks. You seen that one?
I have not. The Burbs,
It's
like
got
Burbs or
The Burbs, like the suburbs, but it's
oh,
called The
okay.
Burbs.
The Burbs. Okay, yeah, I
But
don't think I have. She loves
it's all
Tom
about
Hanks, dude. So
what's that?
I think she loves Tom Hanks too, or at least not. I wouldn't say that but she definitely has seen some of those movies. But man, I don't think I've seen that. To be honest with you, I don't think I have.
It's got Corey Feldman in it too. Basically, what it is they live in a cul-de-sac. Tom Hanks is like the main character. Carrie Fisher's in it too, Princess
Okay.
Leia.
Yep.
She's his wife. And his neighbor and him, they have this neighbor in the cul-de-sac that like keep to themselves. They're really
Mhm.
creepy. The house like the is 669, and there's this like scene in the movie where they go to knock on the door, and when they like boom like knock, the 9 flips to a 6, so the house number is 666. It's like super, it's supposed to be like it's
Damn,
funny, you know
bro,
what I
I'd
mean?
be
Like they
out.
watch, huh? Dude, yeah. Like they one night they watched them digging in their backyard in the rain, but the whole time they're like trying to figure out if these guys that live next to them are murderers. I really recommend it. It's called The Burbs. It's hilarious.
Dude,
Check it
send them
out.
to me. So yeah, send them to me afterwards. I got, like I said, something to look up and talk about. That's cool.
Yeah, man.
Um,
Is it
all
mine?
right. So my favorite movie
Mm.
is drum roll, The Wolf of Wall Street.
Oh,
Um,
fantastic movie.
dude, as soon as I saw that movie, I have never been able to get out of my head. And my wife, she does a lot of these like would you rather things, and sometimes it's like movie based, sometimes it gets pretty dark, sometimes it gets off like left field. But The Wolf of Wall Street, man, is something that I just never forgot about. It's the acting in that movie was, to me, in my opinion, was so good across the board, like how they're trying to portray these like stockbrokers in New York, and based on a true story, of course, by Jordan Belfort, who is a stockbroker and financial, like scam artist, if you will, eh, over in New York City. A criminal was supposed to spend, I believe, 4 years in prison, but he only ended up spending 22 months. And in that 22 months, he became a writer. But wow, that movie was so freaking good. I could watch it over and over again. One of my good buddies, Kevin, not the one that was most recently on the podcast. I've known him for God, I think I've known him for like 18 years. He lives in Pennsylvania. Um, he loves Top Gun Maverick, the new one right now. Said he's watched
Hmm.
it like 10 plus times, 15 times maybe, I don't remember. But that's how I am with The Wolf of Wall Street. I can sit down and watch that movie any time of the day. And it is so good. I love that movie so much. Such a good movie.
Can't agree more, man. I love that movie, and it makes me think of I used to work training, SF training,
Mhm.
and Miles, if you're listening, we used to just randomly, for no good reason at all, like look at one another from across the room, just be like, "Smoke fucking crack with me, bro,"
Dude,
and dude, let's go run,
he did
and
so well.
dude, I can't believe that Leo
So
does not
freaking
have
good.
more Oscars, man.
I feel like
Jonah Hill
that.
does such a good job in that movie.
Yep, yep. Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know how, bro. He's been in tremendous movies. So,
Dude, we could sit here and talk about the movies he's been in that are awesome because there's a ton of them.
yep, yep.
Yeah,
Okay, so I think it's your number 4.
it is, man. All right, uh, dude, who do you want to run for president?
Oh shoot.
I know, man.
Well, I thought I'd never be in a position where I would care so much about politics when I was younger. But now getting older, it is definitely a thing that I've paid attention to a lot more. But
Yeah,
and
good.
I know we've talked about this a couple times too. I'm just going to go ahead and say that I agree with what we talked about months prior. I don't know if you still have the same views, of course, but I thought about it and I would say DeSantis needs to run. Um, and just have Trump back him up, dude, or have other said individuals back him up. But I really feel that it is his time. I love him as a governor. I think he's doing a tremendous job in Florida. He is, like we talked about earlier, he is going to be banning that CBDC stuff in the banks. I think today, actually, now that I think about it, I just saw that Florida is going to be passing a bill or a law that you can now carry. I think like concealed carry or open carry without a permit. Like it's just going to
Heard about
be, dude. And um, he is getting rid of. There's something else he's getting rid of in the schools. I think he's like getting rid of like the CRT, the critical race theory bullshit that they're doing in
that. Yeah,
schools and getting rid of all. I what he's doing in Florida is like what I used to look at as like Texas, where they would essentially like alienate themselves away from the United States. And it's like Florida has really stepped up. And with him as the governor, I think he's doing really, really good things that make sense. This is not like, oh, I'm super like right side. Um, it's just things that make sense. At the end of the day, if you can tell me how something makes sense, I will hear you out. I will definitely understand and listen to your opinion. But I would say DeSantis. I think it's his time. I think he can do it. Um, we I think we need somebody young in there like him.
so yeah, first off, definitely agree with you about Ron DeSantis. I think he also is doing a great job in Florida. That last bit what you just said, need somebody young in there. Could not agree more, dude. You need somebody who's going to represent the just gonna put it this way, man, the future.
Yeah.
You know, the people in our country, do not resonate with somebody as old as Joe Biden, right? And there are plenty of other politicians that are his age. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I just think there's such a huge gap, bro. Like, if there is a minimum to be president, there should be a maximum. And I say
Ooh,
that,
that's good.
yeah, I say that because, dude, at some point, okay, you're going to go into mental decline.
Yep.
And you cannot sit here and tell me, and I know you wouldn't, but proverbially, that Joe Biden does not show any signs of mental decline. 100% he does. And,
It's not safe,
that's going
dude.
to happen. You can't fault the guy for that stuff happening to him, okay?
Hmm.
But there should be a max on how old you are to run for the highest office in our country and represent our citizens, and fight for their interests. Because let's be honest, man, most of these guys, presidents, they aren't interested in the American people anymore. They're
Hmm.
interested more in their party's goals,
Politics.
right?
Yeah.
But yeah, Ron DeSantis for sure. I agree with that. A lot of people want uh, to see Trump run again. And all I'm going to say about that is I disagree. I don't want to see Trump run again.
Hmm.
Um, I do 100% agree with you that he needs to back Ron DeSantis. And I say that not that, because I know that Ron DeSantis has done a lot to separate himself from Donald Trump, and they've had a lot
Right.
of tiffs going back and forth. But if I don't think Trump would win again if he ran, right? And I think that all he would end up doing is taking votes away from somebody else,
I
right?
agree.
And um, dude, let's be honest, man. The Republican Party and everybody who is a big Trump fan, they're not going to get behind somebody who he says don't go for. And
Yeah.
I think that if he's gonna run, he need as stupid as this not stupid, but as weird as it sounds, he needs Trump to step aside. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that Trump would need to throw all of his like weight behind him because he
Hmm.
certainly doesn't need to, and I don't think Ron DeSantis would want him
Hmm.
to,
That would be a
but he needs.
duo, dude.
What's that?
That would be a duo. I think they'd be very strong.
Um, I'm sure they would do good things. I would not want to see them run together. I think that would be I think it'd be like an oil and water situation a little bit, man.
Yeah, sure. I mean,
Um,
I guess I'm just trying to like reference on the fact of like touching back of like having like Trump like back him in that sense. That's what I was kind of like referring to. Like that would be kind of a
right.
strong duo. Yeah. I know what you
Yeah.
mean though.
Yeah. Because like think about that, like when Trump picked General Mattis to be SecDef, right? And dude, I was like, dude, what a home run, man! Like not even just a home
That's
run,
what
but
I
that was like a
thought.
grand slam pick. You know what I
Yep.
mean? And then he walked away from the job. And I was like, dude, something there is not right if that man is like, nope, not doing this anymore.
Right.
And so I kind of feel like there would be a lot of internal issues between him and somebody like Ron DeSantis if and now I know you weren't saying that, but if they were
Yeah.
running partners or something. But yeah,
Definitely
that's
clash.
that's that's definitely who I would go to. I know that the Biden Harris ticket is throwing themselves out there again. Um,
Can we have an
anyway,
opinion on that? Are we allowed to? Probably not, right?
I'm just gonna say there are other people I'd rather see lead our country.
I
Um,
agree. I'll
but
caveat with that.
yeah, that's who I right now that's who I would say I would prefer to see at the seat.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more. So let's get into my fifth and final question. This is the one that I think I talked to you about. My wife came up with this one, and I got to credit her because I'm like, hey, I just need like a off the wall. Like, what do you think? And so, do you have? I don't know how it's pronounced. I tried looking it up. I guess I just failed at trying to find it, but I'm gonna do my best here. Do you have misophonia or misophonia or misophonia? And so, what that is you like you're like a pet peeve, like if someone's eating cereal and they're smacking their lips and slurping and crunching, making that
Mhm.
like a nonsense noise or a sound. Like for example, like nails on a chalkboard, or the one that my wife gave me. She is doing some training right now in another state, and uh, if he watches it, oh well, sorry, dude. But she said you're eating salad out of a plastic bag and it was crinkling and all that stuff. And I've never seen anybody really eat salad out of a bag. But that's
I was eating salad out of a bag?
yeah, the dude next to her was eating salad out of a bag.
Oh, I thought she was like, "When does your wife see me eat salad out of a
Oh no,
bag?"
no, no, no. Yeah, the dude next to her, they're on lunch break, and it's just like the crackling and the crinkling noise of like that cellophane. And so
Dude,
that's what misophonia is you have something
okay.
against that. So I'm going to continue this and then I'll let you end with it. So misophonia, with like that noise, right? So with the smacking and the slurping, it is actually courteous in China and Japan.
Yeah.
So if they, and I've seen videos about it, and now it clicks and it correlates with it, is over in China, Japan, the louder you slurp your noodles is I guess it tells the chef that he's done a good job or that it is a very good dish. And over in, I believe it is Singapore and South Korea, it is not as accepted. And
Mhm.
so it's kind of like frowned upon. But over there, I was like, oh, wow, that is insane to me because our culture is so different. If I go over there and I'm hearing constant slurping and smacking, I don't know what I do.
Yeah, so, that's something I remember from living in Japan and going to ramen houses,
Mhm.
is you're sitting there and you're sitting
Crazy.
on your knees to Tommy mats or you're sitting cross-legged, whatever, and they're
Mhm.
just these dudes are sucking these noodles down. It's like, dude, how are you not gagging, you know? And
Yep.
they're slurping really loud. And that's something that you go to your like your welcome brief, they tell you showing courtesy, eating like that.
Yeah.
But dude, I I would have to say, yeah, there are some noises that get me like that. Slurping isn't one of them.
Oh god, I can't
And
stand it,
and
dude.
dude, she might get
Ugh.
mad at me for this, but my wife, if she's eating like ice cream because it's so cold, she'll put it in her mouth and she'll kind of go like that to like, I don't know, like warm it up or
Oh my
something.
gosh, dude, that's new
Dude,
to
I
me.
know. And it's just like that one noise is like, ugh, like gets like nails
Yeah.
on a chalkboard for me. Um,
It's a cereal,
I
dude.
don't,
Like when I hear people eat cereal and they're like making the slurping noise or like the crunching, like it's like, oh my gosh, please chew with your mouth shut. I was like, can't stand it.
yeah, I hate somebody who chews with their mouth open or like you're trying to talk to somebody and they're eating
Mm.
at the same time and they're like, "Oh yeah, yeah," and like you can just see all the fucking shit in their mouth. It's like,
Ugh.
dude, make your point like at the
After.
end. Right, yeah. That's gross, but I don't think that qualifies. But
Yeah.
that's like the one noise that comes to mind that I guess would be like misophonia or misophonia or what you said for me
Yeah.
would be I love her to death, but that ice cream noise.
Do you guys have a lot of ice cream?
No, but like, like on the weekend, she's
Of
sitting there and
course.
like gets a little bowl of chocolate ice cream or something, and and it's just like,
Full send.
oh yeah, yeah. That noise will get me
All right,
for
babe,
some
I'm
reason.
gonna go to bed early. You go ahead and finish that ice cream.
Yeah. And she just texted me from the living room.
She heard you?
Yeah, it's okay.
Ah, it's all
Yep.
right. Doghouse is a thing.
Yeah.
um,
But and
dang
then
man, that was our popcorn podcast, everybody. It
one
was
more.
a random idea that we kind of all came up with, and we are like, hey, let's try to do something fun.
Dude, I've got one more.
You have a fifth? Oh, dude,
Oh,
I'm jumping the gun here. Let me back up a
come on,
little
man.
bit.
Dude. All
I
right,
thought that
we'll
was
make it
it.
quick,
Yeah.
man.
Let's
If
no,
you could
no,
tell
no.
18-year-old Chris one
Oh
thing about the
shoot.
future, what would it be and why?
I love this question so much, dude. So many thoughts running through my head right now. If I can tell, can you repeat the question one more time?
If you could go back in time and tell 18-year-old Chris one thing, what would it be? It could be a warning, it could be, hey man, everything's gonna be okay. Like what would you go back and tell 18-year-old Chris?
Two things. Don't be afraid. I know you said one, but I just have to.
No, yeah, dude,
Okay.
anything, right?
Two things. Don't be afraid, and don't quit. Um, yeah, because that just, I mean, that just can, like, man, it's just so many things at that time. I was going to college, um, and it was always like the unknown. Like for me, that I get anxiety of like the unknown. Um, it's just very anxious about it and things that I think of life, financial, whatever the case may be, whatever's going on. But yeah, don't quit, don't be afraid, because as I got older or a little bit older, I wish I, like anybody else, right? I wish I would have known this when I was younger, but I wish I would have started a little bit earlier, because I did have thoughts of certain things that I wanted to do, but I didn't do them right away. I waited, in my opinion, a little too late. But then again, it's never too late to start something. Yeah, don't be afraid, don't quit. Do your thing, trust your gut, and keep your head up, and just keep it pushing, man. It's keep the integrity that you've always had, and the dedication, and everything else will prosper.
I like that, especially like the piece about saying like don't wait and just do something. Um, you know, there's a quote that says, the biggest mistake we have is thinking we have time.
Mm.
And I
Ooh,
agree with
that's
that
deep.
100%, man. Yeah. And you know, what is it? What's that other quote, right? A well planned or a well formed plan now is better than a perfect plan later,
Mm.
right?
Okay.
I agree with both of those. And I like that, telling yourself, not to wait and just to do things because dude, hesitation, man, it'll kill you, bro.
That's nasty.
It stops so much from happening.
Hmm.
I just, let's go back to Braveheart, right? And then he's that first speech he's giving them to, get them all excited to go and fight. And the guy says like, we'll run and we'll live, right? And he looks at me, he says, you if you run, you'll live. If you fight, you may die. He goes, but years from now, when you're lying in your beds, will you trade all the days from this day to that, to have one chance, right?
Hmm.
And not trying to get too William Wallace poetic here, but
Hmm.
like it's true, man. Like there are plenty of decisions I wish I would have made earlier. There are plenty of decisions that I wish I would have made. You know what I
Right.
mean? And but yeah, dude, don't hesitate, man. Take a chance, take that opportunity. I like that.
Yeah.
Um, but
Yeah.
for me, man, honestly, I would. This is gonna sound kind of people that don't know me. But I would tell myself, don't do it. Don't get married. Because I got married super super young, and I didn't get married at 18. But I was with the person that I did end up marrying. I would have told myself not to do it.
Hmm.
Um, I go back and be like, hey man, you have your whole life ahead of you. You don't need to do
Right.
this. Learned a lot of lessons in that, so I guess that's good in that aspect. But
Okay.
yeah, man. And definitely would have told myself to try harder at certain things. And I think that's something that my whole life. There's a quote that I actually have it on my phone, and I'll put it as my background every once in a while. And it says, "You could be great, but you're a coward."
Ooh.
And yeah, and I think the older I've gotten, the more I've realized, like, just realizing my own potential and capability. And I think about that quote a lot. You could be great, but you're a coward. And it goes back to what you said about not hesitating and getting after it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things I wish I would have tried harder at, but it doesn't matter because I didn't. And I try harder now, but I would have told myself, like, hey, dude, like, really, you need to do this. Like, this is really going to make a difference in your life because we all have stupid reasons we justify not doing things or doing things. And my
All
reason
the
was
time.
always, this isn't going to matter. You know what I mean? And that's BS, So, but
Yeah.
I always think about that. You could be great, but you're a coward. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, that can resonate with a lot of things and carry for a while. I mean, it's good. I mean, instantly brings up stuff that you can think about, no problem, right? And but yeah, that's good. I like that. That's awesome.
Yeah, man.
So
Dude, I like
this
this.
was
I like
this was
this
fun,
little
dude.
back and forth popcorn podcast style,
Yeah,
dude. We
dude.
talked about a lot of good shit, man. It was fun. It
I
was
thought it
fun.
was. I thought it was awesome. I'm gonna keep
Yeah.
continuing to beat it like a dead horse, but I had fun. I enjoyed it. It's nice to kind of like go like this with some podcast episodes, some
Mhm.
serious and then some fun and then some, like we're about to do later on, some spooky stuff and a bunch of things.
And I'm
And
really excited about that one. I was
yeah,
really glad that that one won, not gonna
yeah,
lie to
yeah.
you. I'm looking forward to that
I'm
one.
not gonna lie, it's kind of like surprising for me to kind of see like that interest spark in a lot of people. So it's going to be cool. I mean, I'm gonna do my best to uh,
Yeah, get out of your
do
comfort
some,
zone.
yeah, definitely get out of my comfort zone and understand it more and better because there's nothing wrong with that. Do my research, and
Mhm.
I mean, shoot, man. In all honesty, just kind of hear everything on your end as well. But yeah, this was
Hell yeah.
fun. I enjoyed it. Our first our first popcorn podcast. And let us know down below, comments wherever you're at, and let
Mhm.
us know what you guys think about the popcorn podcast. What you guys, maybe you want to say. We're gonna do more of these because it's just so much fun and it's random. It's a nice little break, and I haven't really seen too many people, come up with ideas like this, and I think it's fantastic. So
Agree.
we yeah, we thank you guys for the continued support. We can't do this without you guys. You guys are our viewers, our listeners, our support system, and it's just nice to have a platform for us to be able to talk to and stay with us and grow with us. We appreciate it, and we're across, we have a link tree in the bio that we'll do for you guys that sends you to our social medias for you to listen and watch. And if you guys can, go ahead and give a like, comment, subscribe, turn on your notifications so that way you guys know when we're posting. Um,
5-star ratings
yeah, all
rule the
over.
world, man.
Yeah, 5-star ratings, like you said. Does Apple Podcasts let you do 5-star ratings? I haven't really dabbled in it.
They do ratings. Yep.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so Apple Podcasts, Spotify is huge for us. We really want to get that going as well. In Apple Podcasts, I like it. I like the way it looks. It's a good feature. Um, yeah. So here is to a forthcoming of our next popcorn podcast, and I had tons of fun.
You too,
Thank
brother.
you for doing this, man. This was good. I enjoyed it.
Absolutely, dude. Appreciate everybody listening. Let's do it again, man.
Yeah, we'll catch you guys on the next episode, and yeah, we'll take it from there. Thank you guys so much.